Namaste everyone. I hope you all are keeping well both physically as well as mentally. This is Moumita official, also known as Moumita Chakraborty. Welcome to the very special and the very first episode of Modcast. So many people have asked me what is Modcast. So Modcast is basically the combination of podcast and monologue, which also expands to Moumita Official's diverse conversations along with Stalwart triumphs, where I bring to you the very eminent personalities from all across the world who have made a difference in the world to make it a better place for all. So, to begin with, in the first episode, we have the very respected and dignified and patriot of patriots, Major General G.D. Bakshi, whom I fondly call G.D. Bakshi Uncle. He is a veteran army, he is an author, columnist, public speaker. So I am really glad to welcome him on board for the very first session of Modcast. So let's start our session with him and welcome G.D. Bakshi Uncle on board. The audio is not on. I'm not able to hear Uncle. So can you please help him with that, please? उनका ऑडियो नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है. आप ऑडियो थोड़ा ऑन कर दीजिए. हाँ जी, अभी शायद है साउंड.
हेलो.
हेलो, नमस्ते अंकल. नमस्ते.
नमस्ते. थैंक यू. आई जस्ट 1 सेकंड बेटा.
हाँ जी, आप समय ले लीजिए.
हाँ जी.
Okay.
Yeah, this is okay.
Absolutely okay, Uncle. So the session will be in English. So I hope you are keeping well. It's been a long time since I did a session with you. Okay. Namaste, Uncle. Welcome to Modcast.
Yeah.
And good evening to one and all. So episode 1 of Modcast is here. So I have our very respected and my very dear Major General G.D. Bakshi Uncle. So Modcast is basically about your achievements, your life, and the things you are discussing. So as I discussed with you earlier, sir, we will have a 30-minute session. First, sir, let us begin with your childhood, like how it was.
I was born in Jammu, in the city of temples. My father was then the chief education officer of the Jammu and Kashmir state forces. He was with Maharaja Hari Singh as a Darbari. And then I remember from there we had moved to Udhampur. And there my father was the chief financial advisor in the time of transition. And, from where we were staying in a 3-story building. And from there I could see the hills of Bhadarwa and Kishtwar on the eastern skyline and the Vaishnu Devi on the western skyline. And every morning I used to see the sun coming out like a golden ball of fire from behind the hills. And as a child, I felt, my God, they're so close. If I can just climb up, I thought they were the edge of the world. So if I can just climb up, I can see the big khadda from which the sun comes down every day. So I went, once I took my father's Alsatian dog and I started walking towards the horizon, towards those hills. And quite obviously, within an hour, I got lost in some forest there. And fortunately, my father's PN used to live across the forest. He saw me and brought me back. But I did not know then that just 40 years later, I would be in the same hills of Bhadarwa and Kishtwar fighting counter-terrorist operations as a brigadier. So that is how life is. That is how life is. From there, we moved to, my father was transferred to the Indian Army, and we moved to Jabalpur on the Narmada, banks of the Narmada. And that's where I finished my schooling.
Wonderful, Uncle. So, as your father was also from army, so is it what that inspired you to join our Indian Army?
Well, yes, in a matter, but the actual fact that really made me make that decision because I had a feeling that I should join the army, but I was not sure. But then I had an elder brother who was a captain in the 11th Battalion, Jammu and Kashmir Rifles, and he was killed in the 1965 war. And when his ashes came home, I knew that I had no option but to join the army. And that's
Okay.
what I did exactly. 65, he was killed. 66, I gave the exam for the NDA. And 67, I was in the NDA. And you can imagine there was a lot of family opposition because they had just lost one son.
True.
And within a year, the second son had also joined the army. So that is the way it was.
That is very inspiring, Uncle. I always respect you. So now, without wasting any more time on your career and childhood, I would directly move into your as an author. Like you have written a lot of books, like the Saraswati Civilization and Bose and Indian Samurai and Bose or Gandhi. So I, being an Netaji follower and a great devotee of Ma Saraswati, I would like to know which amongst all the books is your favorite book.
Uh, I have written 45 books. I started writing as a captain. Most of them
Right.
were on military subjects. But as you rightly point out, then after retirement, I have shifted more to Indian religion and philosophy. And one of the
Yes.
first ones that I wrote was on the Saraswati civilization.
Yes.
Because generally people take the Indus River to be the cradle river of the Indian civilization, and the very word Hindu was given to us by the Persians who could not pronounce the H. They pronounced the S as H. So when they saw the Sindhu River, they called it the
Mm.
Hindu River, and they felt this is the origin place of the Hindus. But the real river is the Saraswati, which
Correct.
unfortunately by 1900 BCE had dried out altogether. And the foreigners who came, the Persians, the Greeks, the Arabs, etc., they all saw only the Sindhu River and they called it Hindu. And then, they mistook the cradle of our civilization. The real cradle is not the Indus, it is the Saraswati. 60 to 80% of the settlements of the Indus Saraswati civilization were not on the Indus, they were on the Saraswati River. And the
Right.
satellites have fully mapped the course of this river now. So this is one of my favorite books on history. It has done very well. It has been translated into Hindi, into Kannada, and you'd be happy to know it has done very well in the south. The other book, as you
Right.
mentioned, was on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. I have written three books on him, and
Yes.
the most popular one has been Bose or Gandhi, who made India free.
True.
You
True.
see,
True.
I
Yes.
we consulted the Transfer of Power archives in London, and we not just cited the page numbers and the paragraph numbers, we photocopied them and reproduced them verbatim in my book, and which clearly tells us the British perspective of why they left India.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
the, and the British are saying they left India only and only because of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and his Indian National Army. They were really
Right.
frightened of this army, and though it lost the battles of Imphal and Kohima, it won the war for Indian independence. Because after the war, they tried to make a big song and dance of punishing the INA prisoners. And they had put nine on trial, including Dhillon, Sehgal, Shah Nawaz, and that led to widespread rioting in the whole of India: Calcutta, Delhi, Lahore, Mumbai, Karachi, etc. There were major riots in all cities of India. And finally, the British were so frightened that they had made contingency plans to fly out their families from the cities with the airport, just like you saw the Americans flying out of Kabul.
Right.
That was the level of fright. And therefore, the British commander-in-chief, Field Marshal Auchinleck, he had told the Viceroy, Field Marshal Wavell, that we have only 18 months in which to get out, in which we can control events and get out with our honor intact. Otherwise, we'll be thrown out and we should start negotiations for the transfer of powers. So initially in London, they were skeptical. But on 18th of February 1946, the revolt broke out in the Royal Indian Navy. And
Yes.
out of 80 ships, on 79, they brought down the Union flag, Union Jack, and they put up the Tiranga and they went around the streets of Mumbai and Karachi shouting Jai Hind and with portraits of Netaji. And that was the end. Lord Pethick Lawrence was flown in the same very day to start the transfer of power negotiations. But the pity is that power was not handed over to the INA. Power was handed over to an Anglophile elite led by Nehru, who was
True.
very, very pro British.
Absolutely, absolutely, Uncle. So, in connection to INA, so you have started an initiative to complete the historical process of mainstreaming Netaji and
Yeah,
INA by constructing war memorial
yeah,
for the 26,000 martyrs of Indian
that's
National
it.
Army. So, like,
That's it.
how is it going on, Uncle? Because now Netaji's statue is there in New Delhi, but now you are working on the war memorial, construction of war memorial for the 26,000
Yes, you see, immediately
martyrs.
after I retired in 2008, I started taking a lot of interest in rehabilitating Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the INA, who had been totally forgotten, buried under, and forgotten. And all credit for freedom was being given to, Gandhi, Nehru, Ahimsa, and Charkha,
True.
and fasting. I'm afraid that is not the truth, as I've just explained to you. The
Yes.
truth is just the opposite. And the
Opposite.
British transfer of power archives, which should have been studied in India to write our post-independent history, there we haven't even gone through them. And so,
Indeed.
therefore, I started work on this. Then we wanted to have the statue of Netaji brought onto the then so-called Rajpath. You find,
Yes.
unfortunately, the statues of Netaji are in all chawdi bazaars and dirty corners where there are
True, true.
dumps of refuse. That is where Netaji had been, and that is just the local people who don't have much money, but out of their respect for Netaji, they had constructed small little statues. But there was no national level statue for Netaji anywhere. So we started
Oh
this
my God.
campaign. It took us almost 12 years, but I'm very
Yes.
happy that finally Prime Minister Modi, was convinced of this, and immediately he ordered the construction of a Netaji statue on the Rajpath, which has now been named as the Kartavya Path. So there was
Certainly.
this canopy under which King George V statue used to be, and it was
Yes.
lying vacant, for almost 70 years, 60, 70 years, because the people had thrown out that King George V statue from there. And
Yes.
since it was vacant, we said, why not install Netaji statue here? So first a hologram was installed, and finally the Prime Minister unveiled the 28-foot tall, 80-ton statue of Netaji in black marble. And it is a very imposing statue which has come up. But
True.
our request to the Prime Minister has been that please complete this historic process you started by installing the statue of Netaji, by now also constructing a war memorial for the 26,000 martyrs of the Indian National Army. Out of a 60,000 strong INA, 26,000, which means 44% of the force, had laid down their lives fighting. Laid down their lives fighting. You see, they
Yes.
died to make you and me free. But in the whole of India, there is not one stone to their memory. Do you know, in
Indeed, uncle.
1945, August, Netaji had constructed a war memorial for the INA martyrs in Singapore.
Yes.
And then, when the war ended and Japan had to surrender because of the nuclear bombs, and the British came back in Singapore, Nehru and Mountbatten had gone to Singapore. And Nehru was told by the local people, why don't you place some wreath or flowers on this war memorial of the INA? He said, yes, I will. but he immediately got a phone call from Mountbatten. Jawahar, you will not go. And very tamely, he refused to go. And Mountbatten sent, the army engineers to wire up that whole statue, that war memorial, and blow it up with explosives. Blow it up. You never do this even to an enemy war memorial. You see, that is after all
Absolutely.
to his martyrs. But this was blown up. And it is a great pity that since then nobody has had the courage in India to raise a war memorial for the INA. I don't know what the
Absolutely.
problem is.
So, uncle,
The
in this,
people, no, 1 minute. The
yeah,
people of Indian origin in Singapore had paid from their pockets and reconstructed that war memorial in 1975, 1995 in the shape of a history book standing there. But we
mm,
in India still haven't done so. So our request to the Prime Minister was, please complete the historical process by creating a war memorial for these martyrs. 26,000 martyrs. That's not a small number. 44% of the INA died
right,
to make
right.
USP free, and ये still don't have a war memorial. एक पत्थर नहीं है साहब इस पूरे देश में उनके उनके उनकी शहादत को रिस्पेक्ट देने के लिए. So we had requested this. I had written to the Prime Minister. I have also, made appeals to all the powers that be. And we had suggested initially it could be near the Red Fort. There is a ground in front of the Red Fort that was not agreed to. Then we said it could be under the India Gate, where the
Mm,
Amar Jawan Jyoti used to be. We could
okay,
reconstruct an INA war memorial under the India Gate because the Netaji statue stands facing the India Gate and he's saluting. So he'll be
mm,
saluting his own martyrs if that memorial comes up there. But for some
that will be
reason,
wonderful.
there seems to be some opposition to this. I don't understand. But we are saying that if not there, then let the government choose a suitable place in Delhi, which is
Mm,
not in some corner, forgotten corner outside the
true,
national
true.
capital, etc., etc., and mainstream the Netaji and the INA. Netaji has already been rehabilitated. I'm very sure that I think it is because of the elections that things are not moving in this direction. But I'm sure immediately after the election, the Prime Minister will certainly follow up on the very noble initiative that he had taken to install the statue of Netaji on the Rajpath stroke Kartavya Path. And now the INA War Memorial will also come up at a suitable location in the national
Delhi.
capital.
Okay, so I have two questions in regards to this, uncle. In case if the war memorial is created, do we have the list of all the names of the 26,000 martyrs with us?
No, we don't, because as the INA was retreating, it burnt all its record. So we have some names, but not all the names. But a war memorial can also always be constructed to the unknown INA soldier. So that means any
Right.
who are missed out will be there. And those names that we have can be inscribed at the base of the war memorial all round. And like it is in the National War Memorial, we have names of every single martyr. Fortunately, there we have the records. Here we don't have all the records.
Right.
So you can always create. That doesn't mean we don't create a war memorial. Whatever names we have, we should put there the names of the award winners, those who had won the highest gallantry awards in the INA. They should be there. And then it
Mm,
should be to the unknown soldier with a rifle and a helmet, which is the traditional symbol of honor to the fallen soldiers, unknown soldiers.
absolutely. And the second question is, uncle, how do we participate in this petition? Like, where do we go and do
I
the
would
petition?
request all of you, each and every Indian citizen, we have started this campaign on Facebook, on Twitter, and just get onto my Facebook page and Twitter page and like and share that appeal to the Prime Minister.
Right. That will help everybody to, bring the concentration, bring the
Bring it
attention
to
of
the
PM
notice of the
Narendra Modi
past
ji.
MP. I know they are quite heavily preoccupied now. The elections are on, a lot of other things are on. But I'm sure if the people of India sort of keep reminding, this will get done.
Yes. Absolutely, uncle. So this was one of the best things which you are initiating as of now. And being a follower of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, I'll definitely request everybody who are watching us today to sign the petition. Go to GT Bakshi uncle's profile on Twitter and as well as on Facebook and sign the petition so that it gets into the attention of the authorities. So, to end, Uncle, here I have just one last question that describe yourself in 3 words. Just 3 words.
A former Indian soldier. Simple.
Okay. So that is one word. So what are the two other things which you would like to describe yourself?
Nationalist patriot.
Wonderful, Uncle. Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving me this time. I really appreciate it that you are doing the session second time with me, and I look forward to do more such things. And in case if I am able to be a part of the initiative for for the war memorial construction, I will be more than happy to be a part of the initiative. Do let me know whatever is possible on my part. I'll be happy to do that.
Please
Jai Hind,
ask the
uncle.
people to share this petition, to sign this petition, online petition, and so that it gets to the notice of the Prime Minister and the powers that be.
Absolutely, uncle. I'll do that. And thank you so much once again for joining us today. I wish you Jai Hind. Jai Hind, uncle.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Bharat.